Okay, so close your eyes. You have just left our math classroom. It no longer exists. When you open your eyes, everybody in this room is now an artist. We're going to think like an artist. We're going to behave as an artist. And we are going to create something today. So open your eyes. Math disappeared. We're in art. Okay? Our goal today is we are going to combine onomatopoeia words, which is part of language, with pop art. And we see pop art in comic books. Sometimes you see it in ads or advertisement. They use pop art. So we're going to merge them together. If you don't have a word in mind, because you might not know what an onomatopoeia word is, if you look on the sheet on your tables, there's a list of vocabulary words. If you don't want to look on the sheet, if you look up here, I have a list of our vocabulary words. But before we start getting into that part, let's talk about what's expected in our art classroom. First thing, think like an artist. You can't have art if you're not thinking like an artist, can you? No. Does art have to be complicated?
No.
No. Is everybody going to have the same kind of art?
No.
No, because nobody's the same. No artist is the same. So that's not a big deal. You go, Ms. Murphy, I don't know what that means. You're going to find out. You're using the creativity side of you, and we're putting it to paper. Okay? Next step, take care of our stuff. If we're going to all use it, then we should all take care of it, right?
Good.
If we're not taking care of it, what's going to happen to it?
It's gonna break.
It's going to break. Will it be usable after that?
No, ma'am.
No. Then that means we don't have enough supplies later to do other things. Take care of other people. What that means for art is, like we said, no two artists are the same. Their art won't be the same. So your words to somebody else should be constructive words. They shouldn't be words that are going to put down on them, right? Because we already decided that our art won't be the same. So nobody's art can be better or less than anybody else's. Because they're all unique. We're all individual. So if somebody needs help, do you need to help them? Sure. You can help them. Is there a correct way of helping somebody? Yeah, kindness, right? When you want help, you don't want somebody to yell at you or say something ugly. You would rather them be kind. So that's what I expect of you. If you don't know how to do it, say, hey, ask Ms. Murphy. Okay? You don't have to be like, dude, I don't know how to do that. No, that's not cool. Okay. So, what is pop art? Tell me. All right, Turner, what's pop art?
It's like a comic book, like say a superhero in a comic book hits something, it's gonna say pow. And
Right. Well, pop art doesn't always involve words, but we see it in comic books. That's the most popular form, especially for y'all, to see pop art. But it didn't always involve bam, pow, kaplunk, words like that. Those are onomatopoeia words. There's actually a pop art that is a picture of a Campbell's soup can. And y'all are all going, what? So pop art was actually what we call an art movement. It's a change in art. From going this way, it kind of said, shoot, and it went off in a completely different direction. So it happened in the 1950s, towards the end of the 1950s. Some people were doing art, and they said, we don't want to do classical fine art. I don't want to paint beautiful ladies or scenery. They kind of took a different approach, and we came up with art that involved imagery, which is pictures of advertisement. Campbell's soup can. That would be an advertisement, right? Yeah, that's a product. Comic books. And then different cultural objects. things from everyday life. And they took those things and they said, we're going to make art. And all your classical people said, but you can't do it that way. And they said, oh yes we can. And it turned into what we call pop art. Art doesn't always have to be one mainstream. It goes off in different areas. It just takes somebody to bring it into a new different area. Nobody ever thinks, hey, I'm going to change it and see what happens. Would we ever get anything new? No. Everything would be the same. And everything would then be boring. Now, onomatopoeia words are popular in comic book art because they are words that have formed from the sound from the name of another word. So I'll give you an example. The word sizzle. Think of going to Chili's and you order fajitas and they bring out that cast iron pot, and as they're walking you hear and everybody goes, what is that? Right? When it walks past you, you hear the sizzle. That is the name for it, right? It is sizzling. But it's also the sound at the same time, right? When you say something sizzles, you think of the sound sizzle. That is what an onomatopoeia word is. It is basically what something is and the same sound at the same time. Like bark. We can say a dog barks. And if I say, what does a dog do? Bark. Well, tell me it. Bark. You see how it's the same? Same word, different meaning, but it still is connected to each other. So, you don't have an onomatopoeia word in mind. Don't worry. I have some you can choose from. Some of you, I can see it, you're already thinking. Does anybody have their word already? Yeah, got a few people. If you haven't got it yet, keep thinking on it. If you still don't get it by the time we start, I will come to you and we will pick one out for you. Okay? Not a big deal. Okay. This is what you call a color wheel. How many of you have ever seen one? They have thousands of them. This one is very basic because I only had this many colored markers. Now, is this the only shades of green there is in the world?
No.
No. There's numerous ones, just like yellow and orange. But with a color wheel, it shows you the contrast of colors, how they're closely related, and then when you go across, they're completely the opposite, right? Now, today, I want you to use this color wheel when you start thinking of the colors for your art. We want to make pop art. We need it to pop. So would I choose colors that are closely related?
No.
No. Maybe try something that you wouldn't normally do. Some people have a few favorite colors and you tend to stick to them. Get a little adventurous. Branch out from that and say, all right, I usually do pink. Miss Murphy told me to be a little adventurous, so I'm going to go with green. Okay? If you really don't want to, if you're like, I just can't, Miss Murphy, everything inside me says I have to use pink, then use pink. I'm not going to force you to do it, but I want you to consider the option of doing it with your art today. Okay? Now, I made an example of something that we're going to be doing. Will yours look like mine?
No.
No, because you're a different artist than I am. So I chose the onomatopoeia word snap. The first part of our project is going to be us creating our word, and we'll cut it out because I cut mine out. You'll cut yours out too. The next step, you'll get this bigger piece of paper. You're going to create your background. And if you want to use construction paper as a third element to add to your work, you can. I chose to. I even tried to go a little bit further with my word, and since it is snap, I tried to make it look as though the bottom of my P has snapped along with the word. That is something else you can choose to do if you want to. If you start getting your word and you're like, but I don't know. I just don't know how to make snap. I don't get how I could do it. Then don't. Art doesn't have to be stressful. So let's not make it stressful. It's supposed to be relaxing and enjoyable, okay? If you get too overwhelmed, just stop, take a breath, raise your hand. Ms. Murphy, talk to me about it. Talk to somebody in your group about it. And come up with a second plan, okay? All right, so before we move on to starting, let's take a look at some other onomatopoeia art. These are all ones that were created by different people or different artists. Some of the words we will use, some of them we might not use. Depends on what you want to use. It's your word, right? Okay, give it a second. Although it's, there we go. It's going. Slowly, but it's going. Okay, so you can see some people chose to do, this one looks as though it is just maybe marker. It's flat. I don't see anything else like construction paper or any other element. They just drew what they wanted to draw and they colored it however they wanted to, which is perfectly fine. If you take a look at this one, they added a second piece underneath. They even have a white one. So they could have used, it might be construction paper, it could have been cardstock. That's an option. Your background doesn't always have to be one color. You can change it. Ours is white so that you can make it however you want it to be. This person, it's hard to see, but it actually looks like they took newspaper or a page from a book and cut it to make it look like a, what? A splat. And they glued it down and then they have their word over it. So there's lots of ways. Comic art, we see a lot of the traditional dot